Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Once again, it is time for my client Michelle's vlog, and still doing conjugate for her. Keeping in mind, because we're so close to a meet, we are keeping the max effort work with very low variation. It's pretty much just floor pressing and bench pressing. The lower body stuff is just the back squat and the conventional deadlift. Yes, she is getting leaner still, not necessarily intentionally. She's like, I'm still trying to eat healthy, but I'm trying to force down more carbs, but the scale's been going down. She's even dialed back her conditioning, in general, but she is training, 6 days a week. So we do my normal training, and I give her 4 workouts, and then on a normal conjugate, and then she likes to come in on the weekends and do her own extra workouts. And as a coach, I allow this. And this is one of these things that when it comes to your lifters, particularly someone like her, she's always been a very, very high volume training athlete, right? She comes from a boxing background. And so she likes doing tons and tons of training. And she's like, I need it for my sanity. It's also a case of even her doctors recommend it. So in that case, it's like carry on. But the thing to keep in mind, her energy output's high. But the fact that we're not really losing strength in spite of the scale going down. We know that we're retaining muscle, and she's just getting leaner. But she's down, quite a bit at this point. We're now something like 3 pounds lighter walk around weight than we were, about 6 weeks ago. So again, getting leaner. But notice the pull-ups are getting better. She's doing multiple sets of 15 on full pull-ups now at this point. Also, for anyone curious, like why did she do an incline machine? Because she said the incline benches were all tied up and she couldn't get one, and she needed to get her workout done, so she just jumped on a machine. For me as a coach, I'll permit that as long as we get our flat benching in. If we need to do something different, that's fine. And I think that's something that people need to think about with your accessory lifts. We don't always have to get hung up when doing our hypertrophy training with, hey, this is the exercise I always do. Look, if the gym is busy and you have to do something else, go for it. If you're supposed to incline bench and it's what you're programming, and the incline benches are tied up, you can go over and do dumbbell work. Incline dumbbell, do some high rep dumbbells. You can go over and do a machine. As long as you're taking them close to failure, you're good. Okay, and that's kind of a point I make to people when it comes to any sort of training modality and certain things we do with big lifts. This is why periodization is nonsense. For hypertrophy, all that is irrelevant. For hypertrophy purposes, as long as volume, tension, and fatigue and set quality is there is no programming for size. And I want to make that very, very clear. Anyone who's telling you that specifically periodization and mesocycles and these things is beneficial to hypertrophy, they may be trying to con you. Just throwing that out there. Because again, it's as long as you were taking stuff to fatigue, it doesn't matter. And I'm not saying we should confuse the muscles. This has been confused with people who will say, well, we need to confuse the muscles. That's why we do. No. It doesn't matter. You just need to stimulate the muscles. But the point that people have made is that, well, when I rotate movements, I made just as good a gains or whatever. It's like, well, it's not because you shocked anything or muscle confusion. It's because you kept training. And when it comes to our rep work, it's not like the neural drive and stuff matters the same degree as our heavy, big movements. Okay, our big, heavy movements, completely different ballgame. There is a neural drive and technique component. But when it comes to did you do on your incline bench, did you that day happen to do dumbbells or a machine? Does it largely matter? Probably not. And I think specifically not for a secondary exercise. Okay, that's why I tell people only worry about any programming for your big movements, like your primary lifts, the lifts that you count as your primary. Everything else is just about creating fatigue at the right joint angles with movement patterns. Again, just a thing to keep in mind. But for people who are chasing pure hypertrophy, programming is largely overrated itself. exercise, picking correct movement patterns through sufficient ranges of motion with sufficient volume and intensity. It's really the name of the game. Okay, so keep that in mind, unless we are training specific performance modalities. So what do we see her doing with all this other stuff? We did a back squat for the max effort work, and that was a max for her. Some people are like, oh, it's a little knee cave, knee valgus. Yeah, because it's a max. We're getting ready to get on the platform. So yeah, we're going to see some of that. Here I have her doing, again, additional high amounts of volume for hypertrophy. We do leg presses, we do split squats, all right? Glute ham raises, pull throughs, all this stuff. This is what we use to build muscle. And again, I understand she's getting quite lean here, and I think people don't realize when I give her body weight, she's tall. She's 5'9". Okay, she's very tall for a woman. So 145 is actually a relatively light body weight for her as a strength athlete. But, we're still deadlifting up in the 300s. That was a 260 squat she just did. Okay, so we're in a good place. So again, we just keep hammering building muscle, build muscle, build muscle, build muscle. Because if the scale's going down, I need to keep her muscle mass as high as possible, because that is what moves weight on the platform. Okay? That's what moves weight on the platform. Although as a coach, I do want her to keep up in the carbs. I don't like her necessarily losing the weight at this point because we're in a good spot for the weight class. I would rather her be gaining more lean muscle at this point, given my choice. But, it is what it is. She's doing the best she can to get the food down. But we run into a case like that with some of these high output lifters where, when they're eating a fairly healthy diet, and they're training so hard, it can actually be hard to even maintain body weight and body fat. Again, something we need to always keep in mind. Another reason I tell people, we don't always have to think in terms of these bulking and cutting cycles. When your training is optimized and you were going really hard and you're eating a clean diet with enough protein, sometimes you just start shedding body fat no matter what you do, up to a certain point. Just something to be aware of. And that's what we're seeing here. So then her dynamic days, of course, we do speed bench followed by similar work. Dynamic lower days, we do speed squats, speed pulls, and then we do the same work we do on the max effort day. And again, outside of the max work and speed work, everything we do is for hypertrophy. We are trying to stimulate as much muscle growth as possible in her. That is the name of the game. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.